Okay, the transfer window is upon us. Welcome to the latest episode of the Daily Gooner pod here on the Sports Talk Line Network. I'm Raphael, joining you from the United States. Joining me from London this evening are Sam. Welcome back, Sam.
Hello, mate. How are you?
I'm glad to be here. And right below him, Ryan. Welcome, Ryan. Okay, let's jump into the events. A lot of transfer chatter to discuss. No firm moves in or out, but everything seems that there are a lot of moves that are close, a lot of moves that are out. Let's talk with the move that almost was, that broke over the weekend, that had everybody chattering, either pro or con. Sam, and that is the transfer of Emiliano Buendia from Norwich City to Aston Villa. It looked for a while like Arsenal was in play for him. If those of us who've talked about our new website, which I need to mention a little later in the pod, stories a couple of days prior that Arsenal had made a £30 million bid for him, and then it looked like Arsenal was in a war, and then out of nowhere, it seemed, Villa came in. Villa made the official bid that was accepted. He is now going to be a Villa player. That caused a lot of teeth gnashing. And it seemed, Sam, to me, like this is a Rorschach's test. If you're of the opinion that, like, well, Arsenal needs to buy a player, you hated the move. And if you were looking at it and saying, well, they do like Martin Odegaard, they do like other players, you're a little bit more open-minded about it. What was your sense? What was your takeaway from all of this hurly-burly over his move?
Obviously, it's a move that Arsenal have tracked for quite a while. I think about a year now. It's a bit of a difficult one because it you need to really understand where he was going to be playing in the team. Essentially, this season at Norwich, he's been playing on the right wing. I think he's 15 goals, 15 assists from there, which is a very good outlet. But also looking at his heat maps, he tends to move inside and operate in that number 10 space. So essentially, if you was to get him, he would be coming in as a number 10. But if we look at the deal that was presented, I think it was 33 million up front and then something like 5 million in add-ons and a sell-on clause as well.
And a sell-on clause, yes.
Yeah, so essentially with this deal, Norwich could net themselves if Villa sell him in a couple of years, they could get themselves up to about £50 million in all. So for me, yes, it was a player that I got my head round and was coming round to and liking, but for me, Martin Odegaard is still the number one target, so I'm not overly disappointed.
All right, and before we go a little further, just a kind of a invitation to all of you who are watching the pod, please join us, throw your questions at us if you have them onto the chat. We'll be happy to answer them in the course of the pod. But so let's stay with Buendia. So they're not, you brought up Martin Odegaard, and they made this clear, Martin Odegaard is their preferred number 10 target, but we're in or out, it's unclear whether Real Madrid are really ready to sell him. It seemed he made a firm statement that he's tired of loans, and who can blame him? He, ever since he's been at Real, he's been going out on loans. He was yanked in from a loan at Sociedad 2 years ago. It looked like he was finally going to get to be a member of the Real roster. Didn't get that under Zidane, so that's how he wound up at Arsenal. And now it seems he wants a home. And with Carlo Ancelotti coming in, Luis Campos also coming in as director of football, is he any clearer to getting that, or is he closer to getting that answer? And might that answer still be a move to Arsenal, Sam?
It really does depend, because we've got to remember, I know it is some time ago, Ancelotti said that Martin Odegaard was a PR signing, so he wouldn't play him. Fair enough. At the time, he was young. Fair play. Is his stance changing? That's a matter of waiting to be seen. But I think with with Raul, there's been reports in different outlets to say there's a 60 million euro fee, there's another fee. So and then on the other hand of that, it's, oh, we're not selling, he's very important, etc., etc. So I think it's a bit difficult where the line is with Real Madrid and Odegaard at the moment. It seems to be flip-flopping left and right.
All right, I want to welcome Ryan back. It seems hopefully your technical issues have been sorted. Talking about Buendia, talking about Odegaard, and where Arsenal are with the number 10. Obviously, Ryan, Odegaard is their priority. He was building a relationship, a really good relationship, it seems, with Nico Pepe, and it's clear that Mikel Arteta would like to let that flourish and develop. I don't think he wants to start over with a new number 10, and I don't think he's comfortable throwing Emile Smith-Rowe into the deep end and saying, you're now our number 10 and you're going to take all those minutes at his age. I think he'd like to work him in. If Odegaard winds up staying at Madrid, who might you look to fill that spot? Who's option B for you?
Well, we was linked to him earlier today, Nabil Fekir from Real Betis. We spoke about him briefly earlier. He does average at least 10 goals a season. He's got a good assist record. He's coming up to his prime. I think he's 26 or 27. And I know he's had his injury problems previously, but he seemed to have got over them. Again, left-footed, can play on either side, can play up front. I'm not sure how much it would cost. I'd assume with the Spanish clubs in financial difficulties, roughly around 25, 30 million. But even still, that I think that's a bargain for Fekir.
All right, and it seems everybody is so eager, gentlemen. I'll stay with you, Ryan, since we got to play a little catch up here. But it seems that everybody's anxious to see moves come in immediately. And this gets us back to something that we've been talking about here for close to 2 years, which is despite all the move outs in the January window of people like Mustafi, Ozil, they still have a lot of players that they want to get out. And we know that a lot of these players look like they're going to Spain. They look like Guendouzi that could be sold to France. There's a lot of financial distress in those markets. Italy is got less money because of COVID. So it's going to be harder to make a sale. And I think Arsenal, it seems from all evidence, is front loading, move them out, get your price, and then worry about the buys first. Is that a fair assessment based on what you've seen?
Yeah, absolutely. And not just that, but we've got a massive squad. And we don't want the same situation at the start of this season as we had last season, where we had to not register a few of the senior pros, which then kind of got their back up a little bit and they started causing trouble in the dressing room. The likes of Mesut Ozil, Socrates, and obviously the Ozil Mafia started causing trouble because Ozil hadn't been registered. So I think what they're doing is correct by moving all the players out that we want to move out, the likes of your Bellerins, your Xhakas, your Guendouzis. Willian has been linked with a move. So I think what Arsenal are doing is correct. They're moving all their players out. And it also shows that like we don't actually have to buy kind of thing. It's a negotiation tactic as well. Like if people know we have to buy, they'll raise their prices.
And it goes both ways. Sam, if people know you have to sell, I think this is the other reason Arsenal are selling first. If you buy players right away in Arsenal and they already have a big squad and people know you have to sell, you get lowballed. Let's start with the biggest name who clearly now is going out. It seems to be inching closer and closer by the day, but Granit Xhaka is going to Roma. Sam, I think we can all say that's going to be done. It's simply a matter of when, not if he's going. But as we know, Arsenal was the first price they were quoted was something like 13 million pounds, which was a ridiculous offer. They held fast. They said they wanted at least 20. And it looks now, based on what I've seen in the last 24 hours, they're going to get their price.
Yeah, it looks that way. It looks like Arsenal held firm and said, well, this is the price. If you want him, you need to pay for him. Obviously, we done them a favour with Mkhitaryan previously. with their financial plight, and I think Arsenal now have just gone. You've had one favour off us. We're not doing it again. For me, I think Xhaka's a massive loss on and off the pitch. Obviously, you've got to accept that he's going to have his brain farts moments through the season, but he was a cornerstone of this team. He was selfless. He's a leader, and he essentially knits this team together. So for me, it's a bit of a strange one, but I can understand it, because if you want to progress as a team, sometimes you need to take away some key elements. And I think with Xhaka, it's been 5 years now. We've seen how he can be used. We know Xhaka now. I think moving forward, probably the right time to say bye.
Still, one that divides, Ryan, the fan base. I mean, if you're following this move, as all of us are on social media looking for news, it seems that people hate him, can't wait to get rid of him, but at the same time, you know, when the reports come out they're going to sell him, they better not sell him cheap. So it's kind of like, which way do you want to move with him? I know that you rate him highly. How do you replace him? And Sam talked about the leadership, but there are other players who can match or exceed his performance on the pitch.
No, absolutely. You're correct. There's numerous players in European football and world football that can come in and do what Granit Xhaka does for Arsenal. But for me, it's what he does off the pitch, and what he does in the dressing room is irreplaceable for me. The consistency of how he's always available. Just before his injury, he played every minute of every match for I think it was 17 matches in a row. Every 3 days he was available at his best for Mikel Arteta. He played at left back, he played at centre back, he played in midfield. His commitment and his passion to play football is not easily replaced, and the do anything for the team attitude kind of thing. And as Sam said, yeah, he does have his bozo moments, but I know people will disagree with me. I feel he's done more good for Arsenal than he's done bad in the last 2 seasons. He had that moment against Palace, but from since then, I can't really say. And the Burnley red card, I think they're the 2 moments that have been bad for me. Other than that, he's been very consistent. He's led the team very well in the dressing room. He's clearly very well liked because he was voted captain in the first place, and then they voted to keep him as captain, and then Emery overruled that and gave it to Aubameyang. So he's clearly well liked.
All right, I'm going to pull a question or from the chat, because we were just talking about the number 10 position and question about how you gentlemen rate Martin Odegaard. If you agree that he is, I mean, it seems that he's the top target. Is he the guy that you would pursue? And for you, is it simply a matter that he needs more time, or should they pursue a quote unquote better option? I'll start with you, Sam.
For me, absolutely, I would be pursuing him. He is somebody that, given more time in this Arsenal side, and he was injured through some of this time as well, he will just get better and better. And as he knows the team more and more, decent pre-season under his belt, he will hit the ground running with his side. And this is what we need for next season. But with Martin Odegaard as well, it's the little things that people don't tend to notice. Yes, fair enough, he may only have a few assists, but it's the knitting of the play beforehand. It's that weight of pass into a winger, so he doesn't necessarily get the assist. It's the pre-assists that people tend to miss, that decisive pass that nobody in this team can really play, and the weight of the pass is superb. You just have to look at that little clip ball over the top. You know, who in this side has got that vision to do that and has the ability of the weight of pass as well? So for me, Odegaard will get better, and I think that he's another leader on the pitch and off the pitch. So it's somebody for me I'd be getting back desperately.
All right. Ryan, run your rating of Martin Odegaard. Should the club stand pat if they can? And it seems that's what they want to do. Or is there another 10? I mean, you were talking a few minutes ago about Nebel Fekir as a guy you like, but given the choice of those two, would you still put Odegaard as your priority target at number 10?
Yeah, and as you both know, you see me in the group chat talking about him. I would do everything possible and give Madrid whatever they wanted for Martin Odegaard. We've only seen a small sample size of what he can do, and he was injured for a little while, and you could see that upon his return. So as soon as he started getting match fit again, the cameo against Newcastle, the waiter pass for Martinelli's cross for Aubameyang, the cross from Martinelli's goal against Palace, he is similar to how I looked at Ozil when Ozil first signed. What he does, as Sam said, doesn't show up on the stat sheet. The little positions he takes up, which gives other players space in their positions. Like he comes over to the right-hand side a little bit and occupies the left back. It gives Pepe mad space to run into. And Pepe has exploded in the last 5 games because Martin Odegaard is in there and he opens up that space for him. And I was having an argument online about him not being a game changer. He doesn't need to be a game changer. We have game changers in the side, the likes of Martinelli, the likes of Pepe, the likes of Saka, the likes of Aubameyang. We need someone who can feed them. And that's Martin Odegaard. And whatever Madrid want, 50 million, pay it. Because he's only 22. He's a leader, as Sam said, captain of his national team. And he's just going to get incredibly better.
All right, let's stay with the moves. Let's go back to Xhaka. As we said, Xhaka's going out, and 2 names have surfaced as possible replacements in his next to Thomas Partey. Obviously, Yves Bissouma has been on the fans' radar for some time. At the season finale against Brighton, all the photos with Pepe. I mean, there were teammates in France. In Ligue 1, a lot of speculation that this was a recruiting kind of a easing him in. A lot of teasers on social media, Sam, and yet in the last couple of days, the name Ruben Neves from Wolves has popped up. And again, this is divided opinion. There are a lot of partisans, Basuma partisans. There are a lot of Neves partisans. Is Arsenal going to putting themselves in a position where it's one or the other? Might they pursue both? What do you think is going on with those midfield positions and those players?
You told it to me, yeah?
I'll start with Sam. I'll come back to you. Yeah, I mean, you get a crack at it too. I think you're mute, Sam.
Sorry, my bad.
Not a problem.
Get that at work all the time. You're on mute. The world we live in now. Right. Yeah, I think with this, most definitely it needs to be both. Neves makes sense considering you're losing Xhaka. You need, what's the best way to put this?
They've already lost Ceballos too. We have to keep that in mind.
Yes. So you need that player that isn't going to be flashy in the middle of the park, but keeps the team ticking over and always looks for the speediness to accelerate that ball through the midfield. As I wrote in the article on the website, I think with Basuma, he's been given a lot more responsibility in that aspect with Graham Potter at Brighton. But Neves, although Wolves have had a poor season, he still is a player that looks forward every time. I think he's got something like 500 odd forward passes and only 200 odd backward passes. So it makes sense to me, but it has to be both, because we're going to need rotation options. We're going to need different types of midfielders for different games. And for me, both players would work because Basuma, we all know he's a ball winner. He's able to play through midfield and he's athletic. Neves, again, he has a lot of ball recoveries. He's got that range of passing that we're going to miss with Xhaka. And it makes sense to me for both players to come in. If it's just one or if it's just Neves, extremely disappointed.
How do you size it up, Ryan? Given the choice of those players, are you taking both, or are you pursuing both, or you prefer one or the other?
Yeah, I completely agree with Sam. I think we need both. Definitely need both. What I was surprised about the most with Neves is his created chances. He plays the deepest out of the Wolves side, and he's still got 42 created chances throughout the season, which I thought was pretty good considering Xhaka's only got 27. So if we can get both, the way I was looking at it was if we got both, we can play a 4-3-3 against the bigger sides, if you like, away from home. The likes of City, who like to dominate the ball. The likes of Liverpool, who like to counter-attack you. If you've got Basuma, Partey and Neves in midfield, the ball recoveries, the passing through the midfield, and the speed in counter-attack would be incredible. And I wasn't a fan of Neves. You lot saw that in our Discord. I was using expletives when I saw he was the name that was coming up to replace Granit Xhaka. But then I started doing my research. I started doing my digging into statistics. I watched a couple full games while I was at work. I probably shouldn't have said that. But I watched a couple games. Yeah, I watched him. Like I watched him, and I kind of changed my mind on him. And if it's both of them, I'll be happy. If it's Basuma on his own, I'll be happy. But if it's Neves on his own, I won't be too happy.
And let's stay with that, because both of you said the same thing. You'll be disappointed if it's only Neves. I'll stay with you, Ryan. Why?
Because I just don't think it's enough. Basuma can do both roles very, very well. He can play as the defensive midfielder or the box-to-box, whereas Neves can only really play as the defensive midfielder. I don't think he's got the athleticism to move from box-to-box.
Same question to you, because you said the same thing. You said it first, Sam. Why would only Neves disappoint you?
Because it would leave us short in that midfield position, and as well, to agree with Ryan, he's not box to box. He's more defensive, your own box to, I'd say, the middle of the final third. That's as much as you're going to get from him. He'll sit on the peripheral and try and dictate from there, which is fair enough. But if you really want to do a high press with athletic midfielders, as a whole, it's not going to work because you're being let down by one of your linchpins in midfield. So for me, I think that he's a good midfielder, don't get me wrong. Can he kick on and be a great midfielder? I've got some doubts about. Does he fit Arteta's philosophy? Yes, to a certain extent. Does he fit into a high press? No. Because if you watch Wolves as well, when they do implore a high press, it's João Moutinho that is the midfielder that's pressing high, not Neves. So for me, if it's just him, the system fails. Okay,
fair enough. Pulling another question from the chat, or just a comment from the chat, because let's talk about Houssem Aouar again, the big target along with Thomas Partey in the last window, or in the October window, and by all accounts, Arsenal came this close to landing him. His name has popped up again. Very curious comment from Alas, the chairman of Lyon, a couple of days ago, that his club has received significant offers for 3 players. And a lot of us were thinking, well, Arsenal have to be one of them. He didn't name the players, but I think a lot of us assumed that Aouar is one of those players, and Arsenal probably are one of those teams. They, like all the other Lyon clubs, are in desperate financial straits. Here's a chance to take, if you will, Ryan, a second bite at the Aouar apple and get him a lot cheaper this time. Does he still have that luster for you as an Arsenal target in this window?
It's tough to say because having watched him this season, he hasn't really lit up any sort of match where I thought, whoa, he's that guy. And he doesn't give me the same excitement as I feel when Odegaard has got the ball. Like, I was excited every time Odegaard got the ball against West Ham in the second half. Whereas when Aouar gets the ball, I'm like, what are you going to do with it? Where are you going? Before, I was like, the season he had before, I was like, wow, he dominated Manchester City. He had a great tie in both games. And then he kind of he's plateaued this season, I think. That's not to say he won't come in and be incredible for us, but not for me.
Sam, I think he's lost some luster for you as well. He is kind of limited in the roles he can play, and it seems that Arsenal want players with positional flexibility. Does he check that box, in your opinion?
Not really. Yes, he can play number 10, but every time I've watched him there, he's failed to flatter. When he's in a number 8, as you guys know, I think he's a bit overrated and a bit overhyped. Yes, he had 2 phenomenal games against Man City, but then what? Did he kick on from that? Not really. Yes, he does dictate for Lyon, but sometimes in some games he literally sits on the edge of games. You can barely notice that he's there, but I don't know. I think for me, he is overhyped. He can be a brilliant player, granted, but I think it would do a lot of work to coach that out in a consistent basis.
All right, okay. So I think we've kind of touched on all the midfield bases. Let's go to right back, because we know there's another position that's going to be wide open. It's all pretty obvious. Hector Bellerin is going to leave Arsenal this window. So Ryan, do we have a clear idea of where he might go? It seems there's some names popping up. They're all in Spain at the moment. And if he does go out, he's very much, it sounds like this is a replay of the Xhaka situation, where Arsenal won a price for him that's about equal to what they seem to be getting for Granit Xhaka, somewhere between 22 million pounds, about 25 million euros. Who can pay for that, in your opinion? And when he goes, because he's going, who's your target? I mean, whether domestic, we've been talking about Max Aarons on this pod for well over a year, but the name Zeki Celik has come up from Lille. And then very interesting chatter on Twitter in the last couple of hours that Lille are in a dire financial straits there. They're freezing their commissions from last year. They're a mess. Is this a matter of you can bargain hunt and maybe get somebody better than Max Aarons? Or I would say better, but for a better price than Max Aarons.
Yeah, I think Bellerin will end up in Spain. I think he will go back there. I know Atletico are very, very, very interested. It all depends on Kieran Trippier coming back to England. So if you want to keep an eye out on where Trippier is going, it might come down to Bellerin going to Atletico. Villarreal also interested. He was a cornerstone in Emery's side. And they've just won the Europa League, so they've got money. They're back in the Champions League, so I think they could pay for him. I know Inter made an offer in case Hakimi joined PSG, but I don't think Bellerin will go to Italy. I think he's dead certain to go to Spain. And yeah, you're absolutely right. Celik, for me, would be the absolute number one target. I love Max Aarons. I think he's phenomenal. But if we're going on a right back that's going to help Pepe, them two had a devastating partnership for Lille. And if we want Pepe to kick on and be that winger that we need, the 15 goals, the 10 assist type winger that Arteta made Sterling into, we need that sort of right back behind him. And again, Lille are financially disaster at the moment. So just throw a bid in, see what they say, 15 million, 10 to 15 million, see what they say. I think it'd be pretty hard for them to turn it down.
Where are you looking for right back, Sam? Are you also looking at a player like Celik, or we haven't talked about homegrown quotas? That's going to factor in what Arsenal is doing. I don't think any of the names that we've mentioned so far are from the Prem, so that has to be a consideration at some point.
Yeah, I think it does. Can you potentially look at a homegrown situation for a goalkeeper, possibly? But if you're looking purely homegrown, then you're going to be going down the route of Max Aarons. And with Max Aarons, you're getting an extremely solid right back, both forward and defensively. But if you're going to want synergy on a pitch that's already pre-made, then Celik is your guy. And especially, as Ryan said, with the financial difficulty that Lille find themselves in, it would be an absolute no-brainer. Because then you think about it, if you sell Maitland-Niles, you've paid for Celik, and you've got a chunk of change as well.
Mm. And that's to be a consideration. That's a topic we'll raise in just a moment. But just pull another question out of the chat. We were talking about Lille again, just being a total financial mess. Talking about Celik, and this is a name I've seen not just in our chat, but on social media. Does Renato Sanches check any box for you? I'll start with you, Ryan.
I think he's very, very good. I think he's come a long way since his loan move at Swansea. That's for sure. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he would fit our system. I think he would be more suited to a Liverpool, where they're always pressing, always on the counter, always in your face. I don't think that's the way Arteta wants to play. I think he wants athletic ball players in there, which I'm sure Sanchez could do, but I'm not sure he would be on my list of targets.
Would he be a target of yours, Sam? Again, it looks like you could get him cheap in the next month.
I'm not sure. It would depend on the price. If it's around 25 million, then yes. Purely because, like Ryan, I've got some doubts around, does he fit the system? But then again, for that price, for that good of a player, do you adjust and tweak your system a little bit to accommodate? And again, it purely depends on the formation that we're going to be playing moving forward. Because if it's a 4-3-3, yes, you can accommodate Sanchez in there. But if it's a 4-2-3-1, not too sure. Because for me, in the number 10, I'd like a specialised number 10 in there. And in the two pivots, I would like a more solid defensive base, not one that's going to break the lines from a deeper position.
Okay. All right. Let's stay with defense. Let's talk about goalkeeper now. Rumor, Ryan, in the last over a week that Arsenal are I don't want to say certain, but very close to working out a deal with Monaco for Andre Onana, their keeper. Let's start with the facts. I mean, this is a quality goalkeeper. If he were to just walk in tomorrow with no suspension, would he be your number one?
Absolutely. Straight away. Yeah. I'm not sure he's much better than Leno at shot stopping and claiming crosses and whatnot, but for damn sure he's a lot better with his feet. I've seen Onana switch the field of play with his weak foot 40-yard pass, and I was very loud in saying the reason why we played so well under Martinez when Martinez was in goal was because he's so good at distribution. And with Leno, we kind of suffer. We drop a little bit deeper because he can't hit that diagonal pass very accurately. Whereas if we had Onana, I think we would attack a lot quicker. So for sure, he'd be my number one.
Stay with this, Sam, but Onana's proven himself in big games. I think if we look at statistics of his time at the Champions League for Monaco, I don't think that there was a better keeper in the competition than him in the time that his club was in. Is that?
No, if I can remember off the top of my head, I think that he saved 4.6 expected goals. So for me, him coming in is an absolute no-brainer, especially that it's from 2 to 9 million euros, under 10 million pounds, and you're potentially getting a keeper of Alisson's or better quality for under 10 million pounds. That is moving the market smarter. Yes, that there's a big thing around his doping ban at the moment. We should be getting the answer to that shortly. But for me, he's an exceptional stop shopper. He's able to claim the ball. And as Ryan said, he's superb with his feet. So for me, it's an absolute no-brainer.
Plus, Ryan, I'll come back to you on this. If you get Onana, you can really turn over not just the price, but being able to sell Leno. And it does seem that Leno has a strong market in Germany, at least, if not elsewhere. So Arsenal can come out, improve marginally or significantly, depending on how you look at it, in keeper quality, and yet still make a profit. That seems obscene, as considering, as Sam was saying, somebody who's you might compare with Alisson in big competitions, and we know what Liverpool paid through the nose to get him. But again, there is the matter of the doping ban, and we don't know. He if it's not rescinded, he's out until February. If it is shortened, he probably misses at least a month of the season. What does that do with Leno? Are you kind of boxed into keeping Leno until the January window?
Yeah, probably. It kind of depends. If his ban is reduced, he can come back to training at the end of this month, and then if we sign him, you'd play Ryan for the first month of the season, and then introduce Onana at a later date. But if his ban is until next February, you're probably going to have to keep Leno until January, because playing with just Ryan and Runnison, I wouldn't be too confident with Runnison as a backup. Absolutely not.
Oh, you scared me with that name.
Yeah, plenty of nightmares with him. But yeah, if his ban is until next February, I'd keep Leno until January. I'm pretty certain he's got a year activation in his contract as well. So we could activate that, still get the same price as we would this summer.
Okay. Sam, let's talk about some other names. We've been talking about outgoings. We've been talking about incomings, targets, in or out. 3 players that look to be going out. We didn't talk much about Matteo Guendouzi, but it seems like his time at Arsenal is done. Some news, probably in the last few hours, that he's going to Marseille, but Marseille, like all the other Ligue 1 clubs, are in tough financial shape. So it seems that they've worked out an agreement to extend the loan for a year with an obligation. Marseille then has to buy him, assumably when TV money and crowds are back in the stands, and they're better, more flush with cash, but an obligation for 10 million euros. Looks like about a 12 million, 13 million euro deal, all told. You're just going to have to wait a little bit on the money. Does that satisfy you?
Yeah. On people that watch the pod know full well I've made my feelings known on Guendouzi very much throughout his time here. I know that people are besotted with him for me unbeknown reasons, but yeah, where he is right now, especially with his well documented attitude, I think that this is the price of where he is right now. He didn't pull up trees at Hertha. He had arguments at Hertha, caused problems at Hertha as well. That's why they've probably not come back to the table. So at the end of the day, if we can get him off the books, fair enough. If it's a loan with a 10 million euro obligation mandatory buy at the end of it, fair enough. We can still offset any costings of that transfer to say, okay, we're guaranteed this money in a year's time. We can use it now.
All right, Ryan, I'm going to bring up another name from the past, Lucas Torreira, who spent the year at loan at Atletico Madrid, won the league there, La Liga with them. But whereas with Onana, it looks like Arsenal might get a bargain. We talked about Arsenal sticking to its guns and getting what it wanted for Xhaka. It looks like they may have missed on this one. This is a player for COVID really hurt them. It seemed they had a market for him in Italy last year, but then nobody had the money to pay for him. Everybody wanted a loan. Even he went on loan to Madrid. Seems again similar situation. There are clubs that want him, but can anybody pay what Arsenal would want? And what can they get for him at this point?
Probably not many. I know a few Italian clubs are interested, Lazio being one of them. You got Udinese probably to replace Rodrigo de Paul, who's probably going to Atletico, and Torino, again, being linked with Torreira. But I think the best option we have is to get a loan with obligation, so they don't have to pay a lot up front now, and they can just do it at the end of next season when hopefully things are a lot more back to normal than they are now.
Are they looking at something similar to what they're getting for Guendouzi? I mean, can they get more for him?
I think we could get 15 million for him. Obviously, his value is not very high right now because of how bad his season was. He didn't really play, COVID. But I think 15 million is a reasonable fee for him. I think he's still 3 years on his contract.
He's still pretty young too. Interesting. Let's move domestically. Let's come back domestically. Two names. I'm going to give you the meteor one, Sam. We haven't talked about Joe Willock in this show, but he played amazing football when he was in Newcastle. Scored goals in their last 6 games of the season. He ended on a streak. So a lot of speculation. Does he come back? Should Arsenal keep him? Should Arsenal sell him? What do you think they should do? Is he do you re-sign him and loan him back and see what he does? Do you try to sell high with him, or do you figure with his play that maybe he's got a position in this squad next season?
I think it's a bit of a tough one in regards to Joe Willock because he doesn't fit our system. I don't want to say there's a lot to be desired, but there's some desirability around his possession play. I think if we was playing more of a Liverpool, more of a counter-attacking system, then potentially he'd fit in there. But if we were to get a base fee of, say, 30 million, I don't think that you're going to get much higher than that for him in today's market. And if that was to come in from, say, Newcastle or another team that was interested, then I'd look at it and go, yeah, that's probably about right for where he is right now. Is he going to be fitting in and commanding a starting place in the squad coming up? Not so sure. But if we're going deeper into the window and nobody's forthcoming with that, depending on who comes in, I would offer him a year's loan somewhere. But if that isn't forthcoming, keep him, use him, try and keep that value high.
All right. Another name, Ryan. This one looks a little bit more likely. It seems that his time at Arsenal is probably coming to an end. Eddie Nketiah. But good news is it seems Eddie has a market. We'll start with Brighton. But there are other clubs down there who are interested in him as well. What can Arsenal get in return for Eddie Nketiah this summer, in your opinion?
Well, I saw a report a couple of days ago that said Eddie had been offered to Leeds for 20 million. If we can get 20 million, it's the biggest daylight robbery I've ever seen in my life. But that says to me that if Arsenal have offered Eddie to Leeds, it's because Eddie wants to go there. So I think Arsenal have put a 20 million in there because to say, well, he wants to go there, what you're going to have to do is pay more for him to other clubs like Brighton, like Southampton, West Ham, that sort of thing. So I think we get 15, 20, 25 million for Eddie. I know it's a bit steep, but he broke the goal record for the England under-21s. He scored goals in the Premier League. He scored goals in Europe. He scored goals in the Championship. He's played under Bielsa, Wenger, Emery, Arteta. So he's very well experienced for such a young age. So I think 20 is a viable fee for him.
All right. That leads to some interesting kind of back of the envelope math. Start with you, Sam. Again, looks like they're going to get over 20 million for Xhaka, around 20 million for Hector. Let's say they get 15, 20 million for Eddie Nketiah, another 15, maybe 18 for Ainsley Maitland-Niles, about 8 apiece for Guendouzi and Torreira. And let's say the big offer, 25, 30 million comes in for Joe Willock. That's north of 100 million pounds. And the players Arsenal are looking at are not have exorbitant ticket prices. Is there still room? It looks like Arsenal's taking a real meat and potatoes approach right now. Find players that fit Mikel's system, and of course, people like Onana who are going to be dirt cheap. Selleck could be dirt cheap. They might still, Ryan Bertrand has not signed his contract with Leicester. They might still be able to get a backup left back on a free. So if they're only spending on maybe a Martin Odegaard or a Ruben Neves and they're not paying that much money, do they still have it in them to go for one big, just call it the splash buy? And if they are, who do you want? Who's on your Christmas list? Christmas in July, shall we say?
Yeah, it does enable us to go and do a splash buy, but I think we've got to look at this realistically as well, considering where Arsenal are right now. My dream would be to go and get Grealish, but no doubt he's probably going to light up the Euros, so that's going to put another 10, 15, 20 million on top of what they're asking already. Obviously, with City being interested in him as well. It'll be interesting to see who comes up, because as we all know with Arsenal and Arsenal transfers, there's always a shock big player that comes available later on in the window that people say, oh, Arsenal haven't got a chance of getting him, but 9 times out of 10 they end up here anyway. So for me,
Nico Pepe, right?
Yeah, exactly. For me, it'd be Grealish, but I am probably going to hedge my bets on a late shock signing.
Okay. All right. So we'll look for that late shock signing. Ryan, I don't need to tell anybody who's followed the pod of your admiration for Jack Grealish. Who's your splash player? You can say Jack Grealish again, but is there anybody else who catches your eye?
It will always be Jack Grealish, but 2-3 years I've been banging the same drum. Jack Grealish is the player we need to sign, but that's not here or there. My splash buy this summer is actually going to be Dominic Calvert-Lewin from Everton, because I think he's the perfect striker for Mikel Arteta's system.
Why? We got a couple of minutes.
He has great link-up play. He's great in the air. We have players like Tierney, a potential right back, Pepe, who can put a decent ball in. He scores goals. He's pretty quick. He runs in behind. He's just a typical number 9, which Arsenal haven't had for a long time.
Okay. All right. So with that, we have some news here at the pod. those of you, and we want to thank, we had a lot of you stuck with us through the 50 some odd minutes we've been on the air. We have we have a new home on the internet at thedailygooner.com. And if you go there, you will see articles from the three of us and some other guest posts. And we would love to have you join us in discussions there, daily discussions, as the name implies. We're updating this thing daily with analysis, with opinion pieces, with transfer news as we find it, rumors as we hear it. So, come look us up, be part of the discussion. And we've loved your comments in our chats today. Come join the discussion and leave some comments for us there. Wrapping it up, it looks like we're just a day or two away from some movement, some official Arsenal movement. Either it's just Xhaka going out, Hector going out, somebody coming in. What do you hope to see by, say, Friday, Sam, in the next 72 hours? What would make you happy?
I would like us to be seeing some strong links to players coming in. Say like a bid's been put in, or that a player has accepted some terms from Arsenal to come in.
And if it's Ruben Neves, that's not going to disappoint you as a starting move?
No, not as a starting move, but as I said earlier, it needs to be followed up by a Bissouma.
Okay, same for you, Ryan. What are you looking for in the next 72 hours?
Well, I'm going to say Xhaka's going to be announced at Roma probably Thursday. I think Neves will hear some news today or tomorrow that we've agreed terms with him. And then, doesn't make me happy because I don't want Xhaka to leave. But, I think that's what's going to happen.
The pain in his voice. Pain in his voice.
Well, maybe he'll get some Grealish to take the pain away.
That's the only thing that makes up for it. The only thing.
All right. We want to thank all of you out in Podland for watching. Again, all of you who joined us in the chat. Great to have you in. Come back and join us there. But also, join us on the site, thedailygooner.com. Again, we'd love to see you there as well. So we're past injury time. We're in, I'll say it, Fergie time on the Arsenal pod. For Sam, for Ryan, I'm Raphael. Thank you, and good night.